It's your boy Luke, back again for another NFL Showdown picks video. This time we have it for the Thursday night football matchup between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, which has one of the highest over-unders of any game this week here in week 5 with 54.5 points. Also a really close spread, with Seattle just favored by 2 points, so expecting some fireworks in this one. We have a milli maker over on Draftkings, some massive GPPs on Draftkings, FanDuel, all the other sites as well. So what we're going to do in this video is quickly get you prepared with everything you need to know for the slate. Injury report, studs for each side, my favorite value picks, who I'm taking at the captain slot, all of that. So make sure you guys stay tuned. On top of the normal Thursday night Showdown picks video, we're going to have one for that special game Sunday morning. Also our Sunday night picks as well as the Monday night Showdown picks. So strap in and I'll get you ready for this Thursday night game. Starting off with the injury report, the Rams are definitely the least injured side of this equation, with just Tyler Higbee is questionable, and it's a little bit more precautionary. He was limited, but it's just going to be rest for this Thursday night game. It's a little bit of a quick turnaround for them. Same thing with Darrell Henderson Jr. He's questionable, but expected to suit up. They do have Tyler Rapp, who's questionable at safety, a little bit more questionable in terms of legit injury. We'll have to keep tabs on that, but the Seahawks are just plainly banged up. They have DK Metcalf is questionable. He did get hit down low. It's expected to be precautionary, but again, lower leg injuries for wide receivers, something we want to keep an eye on. Gerald Everett is going to be out with COVID, still on the COVID list. I don't believe eligible to come back by Thursday. Jamal Adams is questionable. Carlos Dunlap also questionable on defense. Same thing with Penny Hart, Brandon Shell, Brenson McCoya, Jamarco Jones, Darrell Taylor, D. Eskridge. All of them are questionable. So I didn't want to go, injury by injury talking about their impact, but they have almost half their starting team injured. So not really good right there. Still just slight underdogs in this game. So that shows you how much they believe in Russell Wilson, his ability to lead this team alongside Chris Carson. So keep that in mind. Again, going to remind you of the over-under. It is 54.5 points. Also just that 2-point spread for the Rams. And as a result, this is definitely the side that I'm targeting in this game in terms of the Rams. So at number 3, we have Cooper Kupp, who is the highest scorer in terms of average points on this team, but you see it reflected with that DraftKings price, $12,400. I do have him projected for 20.6 points, which is second there on the team, but with that price tag, I'm not going to be getting to him as much as I would have hoped so, right? This is still going to be somebody who garners 30, 40% ownership and may actually end up being a full-fledged fade for me this weekend. So he still makes the list at number 3. Wanted to mention him. Obviously going to project very well, but at that price tag, at that kind of ownership, something I'm going to have to consider come Wednesday and Thursday night. Number 2, we have Robert Woods at $7,600 and projected for 16.9 points. This is the end of the equation on the Rams that I'm going to, because you have a $4,800 difference between Kupp and Woods and just under a 3.7 point projection difference, which is hardly anything here in Showdown. That extra $4,800, you can easily spend up at another position to make up that difference. And again, if you've heard me beating the drum on Robert Woods to this point, it's well warranted. This guy is a stud, somebody who last year put up very similar numbers to Cooper Kupp, and it's just a matter of time before he gets his report here with Stafford. So love going there here on DraftKings, especially for the single game slate where it could turn around at any point. At number 1, we have Matthew Stafford at $11,400. I am projected for 23.6 points, obviously reflecting that 54.5 point total. Also projected for 342.5 passing yards. So I expect him to come out here and torch up the Seahawks defense. I mean, we saw teams in the past like the Titans torch the Seahawks, and the Titans haven't necessarily looked their best of late. I mean, obviously that loss to the Jets, but on the offensive side of the ball, haven't really been clicking. So I like going to this Rams side. They've already looked good to this point, and I expect that to continue. Now for the Seahawks, at number 3, we have Chris Carson, who is going to cost $6,600 this week, which is a great price tag for that starting running back. Also for a team that loves to rush the ball. I mean, I have him projected for 21 rushing attempts right now. I'm also projected for 16.8 points, and it really comes down to game script. In these high total games, usually people expected a lot of their production to come via the pass, but the Seahawks, a little bit more of a balanced attack. So if Carson goes out there, scores a touchdown or two, he could very well wind up optimal alongside Russell Wilson, not just independently. At number 2, we have Tyler Lockett at $9,600, and that's a hefty price tag for Lockett, but actually comes in priced below DK Metcalf, who does have an injury this week. And with the injury, I do expect a lot of production and targets to go Lockett's way instead. So having projected for more points than Metcalf at 18.1 points, and obviously being the cheaper player, the higher projected player, I'm definitely going to be all over him. I do expect the public to stay on DK Metcalf as well. A lot of people are going to play him, especially if he's active, kind of ignore the injury, and it could very well end up being a mistake. I mean, we saw it with DeAndre Hopkins, ended up being active despite his injury, but was used as a decoy, hardly ever targeted, had just under 30 yards. So potential situation there with that. And at number 1, we have Russell Wilson, who's $11,800. I mean, I probably didn't have to tell you this, right? The guy's leading this offense, their high volume offense, an offense that scores a lot of points. And in a game where you have a 54.5 point total, you're essentially going to have both quarterbacks. So at 20.9 projected points, he could throw a little bit less given how good this Rams defense is, but they're pretty stout against the run as well. So Russell Wilson, pretty much a no-brainer play. You could even match him up with Chris Carson in some of your lineups. I just wanted to quickly remind you guys about my Patreon page that I launched for the NFL. So just like my PGA Tour projections, I have a Patreon page now for my NFL. We have it for Showdown projections, also for the main slate every single week. You'll get my projections for every player in every single game. So not just the projected points, you're also going to get their ownership numbers, their target shares, all that kind of good stuff. Also access to the NFL Patreon Discord server where you can get access to me, the rest of the community, all that kind of good stuff. And the best part is, just like the PGA Tour projections, just $1 for the month. So link will be in the description. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. And now getting into our value plays. At number 3, we have Will Dissly of the Seahawks. He's going to be the de facto starting tight end for them with Gerald Everett out with COVID. So don't have him as a massively projected player right now for 7.9 points, which is more than good enough here at that $3,800 price tag. In order to pay up for both quarterbacks, you're likely going to have to take at least one, potentially even 2 guys from this list to make that happen. And on the Seahawks side of things, I love going to Dissly. Again, he's going to be a starting player, not necessarily someone who's explosive, going to get you a ton of yardage or anything like that, but in such a high over-under game, again, 54.5 implied total, you very well could get production, especially in terms of touchdowns from the tight end. At number 2, we have Deshaun Jackson, the absolute deep play specialist for this LA Rams team. He's been that for his career. We've seen it in Philly. We've seen it time and time again. And at $4,400, all he needs is one of those big plays to more than pay it off. So we saw it there in week 2. He had a few targets deep in week 3 as well. So if he ends up bringing one of those in, he's going to pay off that price tag. So that's what you like about him. Obviously a very high risk, high reward play, but in GPPs, that's what I'm looking for. And at number 1, we have Van Jefferson Jr. He's going to come in at $4,800 and projected a little bit higher than Deshaun Jackson. Also think he's a much safer play, but potentially lacks the upside of Jackson, right? He's not going to go out there and necessarily catch you 80, 90-yard touchdowns. He did do that in week 1, but that's not his specialty. A little bit more of a route running specialist. So he's the true number 3 wide receiver for the Rams. I'll probably be going that way a little bit more often, especially because there's going to be more ownership on him, right? So he's a little bit less of a sneaky play. I'm going to have to put more ownership there. Deshaun Jackson, though, a great sneaky play, also very good leverage spot. And now for our captain selections. At number 3, we have Robert Woods, who is going to cost you $11,400, but you could do a whole lot worse on this slate. With his added bonus of 1.5 times points, have him projected for 25.4 points, and he's going to be a very sneaky play at captain. So as of right now, projected for just 5.5% ownership, and along with the salary relief, I absolutely love him for multiple reasons. Again, Cooper Kupp, going to get 4 to 5 times as much ownership at captain, also costs a whopping $8,000 more, or almost $8,000. So for me, Robert Woods, a very similar receiver in terms of build, their role in this offense, etc. It's just Cooper Kupp has had a better rapport to begin the season. It's just gotten more targets based on circumstance. So I expect that to progress at some point, and for Robert Woods to have an optimal captain performance in the next few games. At number 2, we have Tyler Lockett at $14,400 and projected for 27.2 points with his bonus, and a little bit more chalky, right? 11.4% ownership. But if I'm going to take somebody from the Seahawks side, it's going to be Lockett. He's going to get by far the most targets on this team, especially with that Metcalf injury. Also somebody who puts up a ton of PPR production. So I like going there, and cash games, I feel like it's a very safe play. Also has very high upside given the point in the over-under in this game. But at number 1, we have Matthew Stafford, and I think it's well warranted spending up for the $17,100 price tag. You can see projected for 35.4 points. You just can't match that here on the slate. And again, that's his median projection. Could very well end up scoring you 50 real points at captain, and at 22.5% ownership, you'd absolutely have to have him. So he's my favorite target at captain. Definitely going to be the most popular option at captain. So I understand if you wanted to go out there and fade him. I won't be. I just have him projected too highly to be doing so. That's all I've got for my Thursday night football picks, guys. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments who your favorite value play on the slate is. If you're looking for a GPP format, for me it's Deshaun Jackson. In terms of cash plays, though, definitely going to be Van Jefferson Jr. So kind of have to pick your poison there, but go ahead and let me know down in the comments. And as always, I really appreciate you guys stopping by and watching the video. If you guys haven't already liked the video, haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you go ahead and do so. We're going to have even more NFL content coming out throughout the week. We're going to have our full slate content. We're going to have showdowns for all those games, including the special game on Sunday morning, as well as a live stream on Sunday to recap it all and to go over any last-second injuries. That'll be at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That'll be our weekly NFL live stream. So make sure to check it out. Again, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, see you.